everyone. Welcome to another episode of Speakspire with Sajee, brought to you by FinTV Los Angeles. We are coming to you today from Walter J Studios here in Los Angeles, California. Today, I'm delighted to introduce you to someone that moved to the United States with her family at the age of 15 and went on to earn her Doctor of Pharmacy degree. Inspired by a family legacy of pharmacists, she turned her passion for healthcare into a successful and a rewarding career. Today, she serves as a pharmacy manager at Walgreens, where she leads her team with dedication and excellence. Smart, accomplished, and deeply committed to helping others, let's welcome our beautiful Dr. Ireshka Jayasundera to join us today on Speakspire with Sajee. So thank you for joining us today, Ireshka. We are more than delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Sajee. It's my honor to be here. I also want to thank Dr. Walter Jayasundera and then Achal and the crew that helped set this interview up for us. I'm actually very happy to be here and actually talk about my career in pharmacy and inspire other people if they do want to choose a career in pharmacy.
Exactly. And I'm sure we are going to learn a lot from you today as we leave this studio. Yeah. And once again, it's a career that, it's not just you, but this is a career we are talking about that has spanned for 3 generations, which is something, sometimes you don't really hear about it too often. So you migrated to the United States as a 15-year-old. Let's get started from there. You want to see how you started your initial work, laying your foundation to get to where you're today.
So at a young age, I was always interested in pursuing anything related to the medical field, mainly because my grandfather was a pharmacist and my dad was also a pharmacist back home. So I went to ladies college. When I came here, I pursued biology. So I finished high school here and then going to college and university. Mainly my degrees were in biology and chemistry. And then just looking at how dedicated my grandfather and my father were, even back in Sri Lanka, how they helped patients, really wanted me to pursue this career and come here and actually earn a degree where I can serve my community.
Right. It's quite inspiring. And you following that family legacy, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to find out from you. So I believe your dad obviously migrated with you to LA. Your grandfather, how did he take the fact that you also followed in their dream and you led that same path? How is that keeping him happy?
So my grandfather actually passed away when I was very young, but most of my passions come because of him. So whether if it's for animal welfare or whether he pursued his passion in pharmacy, I remember going into his room and actually looking at all the medical books and looking at the anatomy and physiology and how each drug applies to the human body and how it works. So I would talk to him about that in that room, but unfortunately, obviously, he wasn't alive to see me become a pharmacist, right. But I was hoping that he'd still look down from heaven and be very proud of me and of everything that I've achieved so far.
Right, and as a youngster, you were still able to honor him,
Yes.
Following in that path and making him proud and happy.
Yeah.
He's obviously very proud of you, I'm sure, as much as we are. So I know the current job that you are doing as a manager at Walgreens. It's not easy, especially in a country like this. So would you care to walk us through what a typical day look for you at Walgreens?
So as a pharmacy manager, I'm actually delegating a lot of tasks, but at the same time, I have to oversee my pharmacists, my technicians, and the interns that I also train and precept at the time. So before it start of the day, even before the doors open, there's already a line of people. There's a line of people in drive-thru, the phones are ringing, and then there's a line of people in the front. So when my team and I get into the pharmacy, we're already verifying prescriptions that were we're there from the night before, and then we're getting medications ready, we're getting ready to give out vaccinations, we're getting ready to deal with insurance issues, and then basically help the customers, and then the pharmacists are always there counseling them on their medications.
Right.
So besides me just working in workflow, I also have to be there where I'm taking care of my team, but not only my team, but also the patients as well. So it's a very rigorous task, and it's sometimes overwhelming. But as a manager, you have to keep calm because you don't want your team also going into, because it's a very stressful environment.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And the role of a pharmacist, I mean, obviously it keeps evolving rapidly. How do you see that change happening?
So maybe about 10 years ago, pharmacists were just seen as, okay, you're just putting a label on a bottle. But now it's expanded so much. We're actually doing clinical services where we're giving every single type of immunization. And then on top of that, we're also counseling patients. And on top of that, we're looking at insurance. We're looking at MTM, which is medication therapy management, where we work closely with the patient, look at drug interactions, and basically how a medicine works in the body. So you want to make sure the patient takes a medication at the right time, it's the right dose. And then we're also collaborating with other healthcare professionals to make sure we're serving like the patients in the proper manner.
Exactly. And it's obviously, it's not an easy task. I mean, you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
You are here taking care of your team, your staff, as well as the customers. So I'm sure you would have moments where, no two customers are the same, right? So how do you and your team handle situations where, you are confronted by difficult customers to handle?
So on a daily basis, we have pretty much difficult customers every day. But the main thing is you have to understand when a customer comes in, they are sick.
Right.
They are looking for that care and treatment. Sometimes, yes, they come in frustrated, but you have to be that provider, and you have to have some sort of demeanor to you where you're calm.
Maintain your calmness.
Yes, even though they're screaming at you most of the time, but you have to maintain that because you're there to serve the customer. You're there to make sure, because they're somebody's child, they're somebody's parent. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of them and giving the best care that you have to offer as a healthcare provider.
Right, exactly. And then also to add on to that, I believe, the insurance doesn't work the way it should all the time, right? There are mistakes that happens, as well as sometimes people come and they try to get their medication. Unfortunately, it's been declined by the insurance companies. So you are at the forefront having to deal with all that drama as well when you actually have to assist your customers, right? So what steps are y'all normally taking at times like that?
So a lot of the times I assign someone to take care of it because we're constantly busy.
Right.
So insurance task takes a lot of time away from one of my team members. So if they're doing something, I have to put them aside and say, hey, this customer is waiting, the insurance is not going through. Make sure you call the insurance because the patient needs the medication, they can't wait on it. So I would actually put them sort of in a corner, have them make that call. Also clarify to the patient this is going to take a bit of time, so they're not waiting in the waiting room for a long time and they're getting disgruntled. So you want to make sure it's information and making sure the patient's informed at all times.
Right, right. So that's a lot of information that we are getting from you. And we are going to take a short break and we will be right back with you. So please stay tuned. Thank you once again for joining us on Speakspire with Sajee. You are watching us on FinTV Los Angeles. You can watch FinTV via channel 31.7, which is a channel that's free to air if you are located here in Los Angeles, California. You can also watch us on all the other apps and on YouTube. I would like to go back to Ireshka. Ireshka, so your job is, there are moments, peak times, low times, and during the peak times, I'm sure in your field of business, it gets extremely busy and chaotic too, right? So how do y'all handle such situations?
So right now with Walgreens, we have something called workflow. So basically when they come in the morning, there's a catch-up session that they need to do. So during that peak time, at least we're caught up where we can actually manage our workflow. So that will be like when the morning pharmacist comes in, or even when the night pharmacist, they close, they have to make sure the morning tasks are also taken care of. So
Right.
we're not coming into a busy work environment. But at the same time, when we do actually have these peak moments, it's just kind of staying grounded and making sure we're not running around with chickens with no head, just making sure that the team is at the assigned location, and if they do get overwhelmed, where the pharmacist or an operations manager actually goes into that work area and make sure that the task is being taken care of, because it's a fast and friendly pace that we want to keep going, because we don't want to overwhelm like the customers, but also at the same time we don't want to overwhelm the team. So there's systems in place for that, but at the
Right.
same time, as a pharmacy manager, we do a lot of delegation.
Right.
So that's our task.
Right, managing and also multitasking goes hand in hand in your
Correct.
role, right?
Yeah.
And also working here in the United States, right? I mean, it's not easy. There are
No.
so many rules and regulations that you have to abide by. But I believe in your role as a manager in one of the most leading pharmacies, it would be like the fact that you get to take care of your customers, right? You're helping people basically.
Correct.
And I'm sure there are moments that have been very, very rewarding in your career that have stayed with you up to date.
Yeah.
Is there any memorable moment that you would like to share with us?
So I have a lot, but
Right.
mainly I have a lot of patients who came in, but one particular patient who came in and he was overwhelmed by a lot of the medications that he took. So I think when you take the time to go over each medication, how it reacts in your body, the side effects to look out for, and then just making sure that the patient takes those medications in a timely manner,
Right.
but also not giving the patient too much information, because too much medical jargon is going to overwhelm the patient.
Right.
So I guess me taking the time to go over that entire profile with him, he was very calm after that, and then he came and thanked me and gave me a card for
Right.
taking the time to go over his medication regimen where he wasn't overwhelmed.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that's one of the moments that actually makes you happy and feel
Yeah.
really grateful for what you do, right? And also speaking of that, now we know most of the patients, basically they go to the doctors, they get all these, good or bad news in regards to their health, and then the
Yeah.
next point of contact that they would have with another human being could be the pharmacist.
Yes.
So when they are broken with that bad news and they come and speak to a pharmacist, and you are the first person that they speak to after hearing some sort of bad news, how do you
Yeah.
get to handle that part of a situation?
So a lot of the times when they come in, sometimes they're either crying or, you kind of look at their demeanor,
Right.
and then just kind of cater to them. And then basically it's all about empathy. So you want to empathize with the patient,
Right.
and then also look at their medication history and then talk to them about it, and then see if they have any drug-drug interactions or drug allergies, where you can help as a pharmacist, because the doctor will give you the bad news or tell you this is a medication to take. But then when they come to us, you also want to make sure that patient's taken care of, where you're looking at all the other risks the patient can go through, but also basically saying that, you will always be there for them. They can come in anytime and ask questions, just to give them that reassurance. So that way, they're comfortable coming in
Right.
and talking to us about stuff.
And on any given day, right? Things don't really go according to the plan, and obviously, there are hiccups here and there. Do you feel like you need therapy? I mean, you are being a therapist to many of the people that come in search of your services, right? You
Yeah.
are doing the best for them, but at the same time, I'm sure you are overwhelmed to the point that you feel like at the end of the day, you need therapy.
Correct.
So you need to balance your life in so many ways to let that stress be released. So
Yeah.
how do you maintain your healthy balance, I mean, on any given day?
So stress management is a huge issue. A lot of us feel overwhelmed at the end of the day, and then there's different avenues to take care of that. So for me, music is therapy for me. So every time I'm going home, I'm listening to music, so that way it calms me down before I go home. I have a bunch of cats, I'm like the crazy cat lady. So just having pets around and then just, petting them, it's like really calms you down. And then you should also have peers who you can talk to regarding your job. So I also talk to my other pharmacy managers, and then we have that collaboration and cooperation where we talk about stuff. So I would even meet them after work, just to discuss things about corporate setting. So a lot of those actually help me out, so that way I'm not overwhelmed, where I'm just like another provider who's burnt out.
Right. And then I know you were talking about your pets, and we've heard that you actually have a lot of pets, right?
Yeah.
So how did you become passionate about that? And also, did you start rearing all these pets simply because you wanted it as a method of being, like, letting go of your stress?
Yeah.
Or was it something that you were always passionate about?
No, so this goes back to my grandfather. He was a huge animal lover. So I remember rescuing my first dog from a lake. So I've always had that. And my dad would always bring like the German Shepherds home, but I'd be rescuing all the stray dogs and then taking care of them. So I've just done that all my life. Even the cats that I have now, they're all rescued. I grew up as a dog person, but I think after my last dog, actually having cats and being able to, it's easy maintenance as opposed to dogs because you have to walk them, and it's much easier.
So just out of curiosity, how many pets do you actually have at home right now?
So right now I have 3 cats, but I also give a cat to my mom. I'm also taking care of my neighbor's cat. So probably 5 cats in total for now. And
I just learned that you actually saved a bird, right?
So I just rescued a bird and taking care of that right now. But yes, when I do have time, I do go into sanctuaries. That's also a big passion of mine. And then for me, if there's any emergency, even in Sri Lanka, my first thing is, I think a lot of people know this about me, my first thing is to go to animal welfare and take care of that.
So speaking of that, you giving back to the community. So something we have learned about you is how you were very remarkably involved in giving back to the community during the COVID days, right? Especially with the immunizations, when people were unable to get the vaccines that were needed. We've heard that you were instrumental in getting them and getting it across to the right people. So let's hear it from you.
So COVID was really bad, as everyone knows, and then a lot of people couldn't go into work. But as healthcare providers, we had to be there because we were essential workers. So during that time, we were only handed out a certain amount of vials, and only a certain number of population can get those vaccines. So I remember, for me to serve my community, I actually got together with Achala Veersinghe, and I told her, hey, if you know any Sri Lankans who need vaccines, I'm actually saving a lot of these vials. So if they need the COVID vaccine, I can actually provide that. So a lot of people, it had to be 65 years or older. Right. So one vial of a 5 ml vial, 1 ml where you're getting only 0.5 ml, you're just wasting the vial. Right? You're just taking one dose out and wasting the vial. So I didn't see that as a great thing. I really wanted to make sure everyone got the vaccine and everyone was vaccinated, because this is your loved one sometimes, right? You want to make sure they're protected. So when I was working at Walgreens, I would work after hours. So there was a line after 9 o'clock.
Wow.
So I would still make sure, I just told my store manager, hey, like, we got to take care of these patients. I don't care what time we close. I want to make sure these vaccines are given out. So I would actually save those vials, make sure when they come in, I would give the vaccine out. And I had a lot of Sri Lankan people come and take
that you took care of during the time of need, which is amazing. And also, I mean, something that we sort of hear is critics say retail pharmacies prioritize speed over safety.
Yeah.
What is your thought on this?
So we do have a lot of metrics that we have to, yes, speed is necessary because we have a lot of people to cater to. Like my pharmacy alone does about 500 prescriptions a day. So, but when it comes to speed, accuracy is also very vital,
quite important, right?
So for us, it's mostly, yes, speed is necessary, but you want to be accurate in what you're doing. So we have a lot of steps where if we are going to make a mistake, like the system stops it, and then the pharmacist is a clinical provider, which means they double check the work anyways before it leaves the pharmacy.
Right. So accuracy is quite important, right? And it's important for someone to double check the work. Obviously, we are human, so we could make mistakes. Nothing is perfect in this world, and we do not live in a perfect world. So there is always room for errors, but double checking is the main step that we can take. We are going to take a short break, and we will be right with you. Welcome once again, and thanks for joining us on Speakspire with Sajee. We are joining you from channel 31.7 via FinTV Los Angeles, California. We have Dr. Ireshka that's joining us today, a pharmacist, and she spans into 3 generations of pharmacists. We are learning a lot from her, and I'm sure there is a lot of inspiration in this conversation that you could use in your day-to-day life. So, Ireshka, I would like to know from you, I know the corporate policies sometimes interfere with, what we think could be right for a patient at that time, at that moment. How do you handle such situations?
So a lot of the times with corporate, you also want to abide by the regulations that they set in place.
Right.
But as a healthcare provider, you also want to make sure the patient's taken care of. So yes, it's a little bit of a balancing act,
right.
But at the same time, your patient's needs is first. So you want to make sure you take care of that, and then the corporate issues you can deal with later.
Right. And have you run into such situations? I mean, I'm sure, it happens in your work.
Yes.
Maybe not on a day-to-day basis, but it's obviously there is room for that.
Yes. So again, there's room for improvement in a lot of our situations. Corporate does come and say certain things, but again, because I do work for a Walgreens, which is a corporate company, I don't want to go into detail about a lot of those issues.
Right.
But like I said, when it comes to patient care, their needs are first, and then corporate issues will come later that I would handle later.
Right.
Yeah.
And no matter what field we are in, no matter what the job we do, right? There's always advice that we get from people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. So do you have any piece of advice that you have received from someone that has stood with you in the test of time?
So I think it's always about learning and growing. So as a healthcare provider, you always want to have that inspiration and passion to actually learn. So not just stop where you are at, but constantly make sure that education, so for us at least, we have continuing education courses that we take every 2 years just to renew our license. But besides that, I also go into certain meetings where I can learn from other healthcare providers. Right. So I think basically going into any avenue, I think education is the key, and I think learning and educating yourself, I think that's the biggest thing you can do for yourself as an individual.
Right, and it's based on what you said, also your attitude, right, to be able to, basically to be open to learn.
Correct.
Which is quite necessary in any field for you to excel. I believe you should be able to take advice from peers, your co-workers and, the hierarchy. But at the same time, it's important for you to keep learning every single day.
Because you have to learn to collaborate with other people. So any piece of advice that they give you, you want to take into heart, and also take a step back and kind of go over what they said to you, but also, learn on your own as well.
In your field, I would like to know, have there been any moments where, you have had a patient that has been prescribed something, but when you look through their history, you've noticed that there have been like a huge error that was made?
Correct.
Have there been moments like that you've been able to catch?
That I see day to day.
Right.
A lot of the times they're like, well, the doctor gave it to me, so I want my medication. So I would actually have to, again, talk to them in a polite manner and say, hey, let me get back to you. I need to talk with your provider. So a lot of the times, say, for example, they have a penicillin allergy and they're prescribed amoxicillin, which is in the same class of penicillin. And the doctor didn't catch that because maybe the patient didn't tell the doctor, I have a penicillin allergy, but
Right.
it's in our records and in our history. So I would have to talk to the doctor and say, hey, this patient has this allergy and you prescribed Augmentin or amoxicillin for the patient. Can we look at a different course for this patient? So I would recommend something, and then the doctor would talk to me, and then I would get back to the patient and say, I don't think you mentioned this to the doctor, but looking at your allergies and your history. So that's why we come into play, because we look at drug-drug interactions. We look at drug-allergy interactions. So a lot of the times when the doctor says something that's not, end all be all, you have to actually use your clinical knowledge where you can question the doctor.
Right.
Because you also went to school for that, right? So you can question the doctor, and then again, you are always looking out for the safety of the patient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, now you are doing what's right for the customer, but sometimes, the patient may not see it as that. When they come to the pharmacy, they will be thinking of, oh, this is what my doctor gave me.
Yeah.
So do you run into a difficulty like when you have to, make them understand that?
Yes, so there have been moments like that, and then that's usually like either my team, if they can't handle it, I step in and then I discuss with them, like, look, this is your medication profile. We want what's in your best interest, and then we go from there where we're kind of trying to calm the patient down, but at the same time, we're like, give us a few minutes, we'll get back with your doctor and we'll give you a call. So we always take their phone number if they can't wait, and then we try to get that medication out as quickly as possible so they're not waiting for something for long term, because if it's like an infection, you want them treated as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So are there any patient stories that have, remained in your heart, remained in your memory through the years?
I think, well, yes. So one of my patients, and I'm still friends to this day, he had a severe car accident and a lot of plates put in his back. So he came to me with a bunch of medications, and then I would have to talk to him about, hey, don't take these together. That's why you're so drowsy. So just taking that time, and that patient won't go anywhere else, would only come to me for medications. And then also when I was going through difficult times in my life, that was a patient who prayed for me.
Right.
So it's very inspiring. He would come, if he would go to a Carlos Santana concert, he'd bring me the shirt. So you want to engage with patients and not just talk about medication, but basically talk about their life.
Building the trust, right?
Yeah.
It's important.
So you basically build a trust, and you want to make sure that you're not just there dispensing medication. You want to have a story.
Right, and besides, you do care about them, right? You take that moment to care about the patient actually.
Yes.
Which is why you are going, that extra mile, and which is why you are where you are today. Because you've done the right thing.
Yeah. So I've even my team, I have a very dedicated team. So a lot of the times, even during COVID times, we got so many cards, we got so many gifts, but at the same time, it's because we're delivering that care. We're not expecting anything.
Right.
But it's just the care that we deliver at that critical moment in time.
Exactly. Yeah. And that brings about all the rewarding feelings to you as well, right? Yeah. To be able to cater to your customers.
So when we have a hard day, I'm like, okay, this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
So it's really for us, to take our passion that far, and then at the same time to hear from customers just a simple thank you. Hey, you took the time to take care of me. I'm so grateful. Just to hear that from a customer, it's a lot for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are certain moments. I'm sure you would be running into shortages of medication. Mm-hmm. Also, there are days that you could be, short with your staff members. All these are inevitable in our world of work. Yeah. So how do you handle such situations?
So a lot of the times with medication shortages, because the manufacturer is no longer making it, or it's going to take some time for our vendor to get it, we're always looking at different pharmacies that may have it. So within Walgreens, we actually call the nearby stores. So if a patient brings in a prescription where they're like, if we don't have it, we actually call the other pharmacies first. And then we go into different other pharmacies. So if it's CVS or Costco or Walmart, we would actually call them if they're within the area to make sure the patient gets the medication, because that's priority for us. So and sometimes on our vendor, it'll tell you the date that it's coming, but it's too late for the patient to get it because they need the medication right then and there. So I think a lot of the weight loss drugs at the time, because a lot of people were on it, the people with diabetes weren't getting the medication. So especially for a drug like Ozempic. So we looked at a lot of shortages. So what we did next was, instead of giving a 90-day, so a 3-month supply, we cut it short to a 1-month supply. So you see this a lot with even like Costco, where if people flood in during COVID times and they're trying to get all these paper towels or water bottles, they'll limit the person.
Right.
So that's what we had to do as a company, instead of giving like
so
a 3
you
months.
can cater to everyone.
So we can so everybody gets the medication.
Right.
So that's one of the things. The other thing is, like I said, we call people and then make sure it's like the neighboring pharmacies, because we don't want patients not to go without their medication. That means that they're going to face an adherence issue, and then that could just backfire where they're not getting the proper treatment. So you don't want a disruption in their regimen. You want to make sure that they're actually getting the proper medication at the right time. So we would go above and beyond and make sure we even call other pharmacies if it's not within Walgreens, to make sure the patient gets it.
So what's amazing is how we learn, how many things go into play in your role. I mean, yes, we do see a title, but there's so many different roles that's linked to it, that's attached to it, right? Yeah. You have to wear many hats on any given day to be able to cater to your customers. So now when you look back at your life, from the 15-year-old girl that migrated from Sri Lanka to USA, how proud are you of yourself about what you do?
I mean, I'm proud, but I think mostly than me, I think my parents, especially my dad, is very proud, because for him, I think just me because he's like, well, either marry a doctor or become a doctor, and that was his whole motto throughout his life. But I think just following in his footsteps, he's very proud. And like I said, if my grandpa was here, he'd be, I think, the proudest.
One of the most happiest, right, to see where you are today.
Correct.
So I'm sure there's so many pieces of advices that you can actually share with our younger generations, right? We see a lot of people that are embracing the healthcare industry nowadays. So what pieces of advice do you have for them?
So I know healthcare is not easy. So whether you want to become a doctor, a pharmacist, or a dental surgeon, or whichever avenue you pick, a lot of the times in school, you can get very stressful. So a lot of people, I think, you have heavy loans that you're taking out and you just want to quit because it's just too stressful. But, just keep going. Make sure you're putting in the effort. Make sure you're putting in the time, because it will pay off in the end. So you don't want to give up. Just make sure you're going. So just keep going.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure you have a lot of future plans that you want to do towards our community, and in your field. So we would like to hear that from you.
So actually, I'm planning to visit Sri Lanka this August. I'm going back home to meet with one of my colleagues who actually went to school here, opened up a medical facility back home. So I'm going to collaborate with her and see what I can bring into the country it's in my expertise. So I'll be collaborating with her when I go this time. And then regarding vaccine clinics, I'm also trying to work with Achala to see if we can work on some vaccine clinics for the Sri Lankan community, where they not only come to get vaccines, but also talk about their medication regimen. So that way they're more educated on what medications they take, how it reacts in their body, but at the same time, to make sure they're healthy, and also to make sure that whatever medications they're taking is actually working long term for them.
Right. And also, we have learned that you're accepting students from USC and various other schools,
Yes.
right? To basically enhance their knowledge in the health industry.
Yes.
If you were to talk about that.
So I've been precepting for about 10 years since I've been with Walgreens. So I think the best thing that you can do is also take someone under your wing and then teach them as well. So for me, it's very inspiring for me when these kids, when I was young, these kids would come to me and ask questions and they'll be eager to learn. So for me, that's very rewarding for me,
Yes.
for them to come up to me, ask questions, but I can also teach them retail pharmacy setting, but at the same time have lifelong learners and create better pharmacists or better technicians.
Right. And it's truly inspiring, and I believe we have learned a lot by having you here in our studio today. Actually, I think this story is very inspirational to most of the youngsters, right? Especially, I mean, you never gave up on your dream. You knew what you were following, your path, because you wanted to keep up, making sure that you made your parents proud, you made your grandparents proud. So that's quite inspiring to see how you led your path to generations and generations, following in your dreams. So I'm extremely thankful to you for taking time off your busy schedule and joining us here on Speakspire with Sajee today. And thank you so much for coming to our studios today, Dr. Ireshka.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.